Hi, Dr. Dan the Man. This is Andy McNeil. I'm here to talk to you about my invention, which is AstroTurf. To start off, AstroTurf doesn't jump off paper as a mind-blowing invention, but without AstroTurf, indoor athletic facilities would not be possible. It was invented in 1965 when Monsanto was trying to develop an artificial grass surface. When the Astrodome in Houston opened in 1965, which my dad actually played on in college when he was playing at Mizzou, it revolutionized indoor athletic stadiums forever. It was the first fully enclosed stadium, and now there's hundreds of them, if not thousands. After the stadium opened, it created a massive market for the artificial grass. The credit for the invention goes to a group of guys from Monsanto research team, James M. Faria, Robert T. Wright, and Donald Elbert. It originally sold under the name Chemgrass. James M. Fario and Robert T. Wright were the main developers for AstroTurf by the Monsanto company. This artificial grass, also known as AstroTurf or Chemgrass, was developed because of research concluded by the U.S. government, which decided that inner city schools did not have enough green space to permit outdoor physical education activities. So, in other words, they couldn't grow grass. There was nowhere to grow grass, so they were trying to figure out a way they could have artificial grass surface for kids to play on and get their workouts in the inner city. Moses Brown School in 1964 was actually the first artificial grass surface. It was used for, like I said, that physical education program. AstroTurf has many benefits. The average price is about $600,000 to install, which varies depending on the size of the stadium or area where it is installed. I would say it's usually about a 100-yard field of AstroTurf with room for out of bounds. It's usually about the standard size. The initial cost is very high to put in, but upkeep is much less expensive than natural grass. Another positive is it is pesticide free, unlike natural grass. It is much more durable. You can play in all types of weather. You can never have a rain out. This avoids cancellations of games and practices, which saves money. The average grass playing field uses about 50,000 gallons of water per week to maintain, and obviously AstroTurf requires none, which doesn't contribute to the diminishing amount of fresh water. It allows for urban multi-purpose stadiums to be built for a variety of sports. Off the top of my head, Edward Jones Dome, you can play. They have soccer events and all sorts of events in there besides just football. Another one that I wrote down was Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. This stadium used to house the baseball Phillies and the football Eagles. Artificial turf stadiums lead to high revenue and it stimulates the local economies and creates many jobs. Like I said, the stadium employs thousands of people, and you got to have people to install the turf, so it creates manufacturing jobs and installation jobs. AstroTurf. This isn't out of a reliable source per se, but I've had buddies tell me that are from Arizona that many people actually use AstroTurf in their backyard when they can't grow grass. So it has a variety of uses. It is a revolutionary invention that changed the sporting world forever. This is a big positive for teams up north that have to play in the freezing cold if they don't have an indoor facility. It makes having football teams possible in places like North Dakota State, who's the 5-time in a row Division I AA football national champs. It's in Fargo, North Dakota. It'd be pretty unforgiving to play up there if they didn't have turf. Brigham Young University study found that the surface temperature of Getting into the negatives, sorry, that was a bad transition there. A Brigham Young University study found that surface temperature on synthetic turf is up to 37 degrees higher than the air temperature. And as a former player, that is a big factor. The turf gets very hot when it's summertime. You can feel it burning your feet. Also, another negative, older turf fields contain high amounts of lead and toxic chemicals. These have been associated with birth defects, cancer, asthma. The shredded rubber used in the turf, which is basically just ground up tires from cars, contain high amounts of toxic chemicals. And in 2007 and 2008, 3 artificial turf fields were closed due to high amounts of lead in the turf surface, which is scary to think about considering the amount of turf fields I've played on. The crumb rubber, also known as, used has also shown to have high carcinogenic effects and has been investigated. Actually, recently NBC News did an investigation into women's soccer and cancer on turf fields. 38 women diagnosed with cancer. Of the 38, 34 of them were goalies who were constantly have contact with the turf on their skin. And they believe that crumb rubber could potentially be a factor in their cancer. Additionally, negatives can be runoff pollution for the toxic chemicals from the crumb rubber and possibly lead can pollute groundwater. And you don't think about this a lot, but the recycling of the field after it's worn out. What do you do with these huge turf football fields once they're worn out? There's nowhere to take them, and it's hard to dispose of them and be environmentally safe. Another negative is turf burns, which are open skin lesions, can put you at high risk of developing bacterial infections. Also, MRSA for one, staph infections. Those are a huge problem right now in football and other sports. This actually happened in 2003. Eight St. Louis Rams football players were infected with MRSA due to turf burns. Bacteria can breed well on the turf because the fields are not washed or cleaned. You don't think about that, but there's always blood on the fields, people puking. It gets pretty nasty on those things. Also, turf field, another place, turf field, because the plastic kills and all living organisms in the soil, making it impossible without years of soil treatment. So, sorry, that's a bad transition, but what I wrote down is that after turf is gone, the plastic, the crumb rubber, gets into the soil underneath where the turf was built, making it impossible to grow grass there for years. Also, one that's hit close to home here at SEMO, knee injuries are about 40% more common on turf than in grass football players. So we've actually eliminated practicing on the turf football field, and we only practice on the grass practice field because it's that high impact on your joints can lead to a lot of lower body injuries. I actually blew out my knee last year. Also, another huge issue right now is the concussions in football, and that AstroTurf is pretty unforgiving when it comes to hitting your head. In closing, AstroTurf has been a revolutionary creation for the sports world, and it has done so many good things, created so many jobs, stimulated a lot of economies, allowing for multi-purpose stadiums and for people to play football up north where it's too cold to play usually. It does have its negatives, but I think that's mostly in a smaller scale. Other than the lower body injuries and the concussions, I think AstroTurf is a great thing, and I really wish my high school would have used it. Thank you, Dr. Dan the Man, and that is my video on AstroTurf.